What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Empire on Deck. Before we get into Friday night's games, I want to touch on a few things that I kind of skipped past for Thursday night's games. Listen, in order to do this, I'm recording this video at 1 a.m. on what's officially Saturday morning. It takes a while to get these things ready. Gotta be ready to go with all games, take notes, that kind of thing. Some things get missed, so I want to address some things that I may have skipped over from Thursday night's games. So the first thing is, I talked about on opening day, I talked about Jacob Mizrowski and his incredible start where he gave up a home run to Chase Mydroth in the first batter of the game, and then 11 of the next 15 outs were from strikeout. And I wanted to mention something I forgot to mention, was that was not only a Brewers opening day record for strikeouts by a starting pitcher, but it also made Mizrowski the third pitcher since 1901, 23 years of age or younger, to have 10 or more strikeouts on opening day. Third pitcher since 1901, 23 years or younger. Incredible stat, incredible start by Mizrowski. And I just wanted to add a little more context to that incredible outing. When we talked about the Pirates yesterday, we focused more on both Paul Skeens being knocked out before the first inning was over, and the fact that rookie Carson Bench hit his first home run. But what we glossed over, and what I thought the game was going to go in a different direction early, because not only did Brandon Lau hit a home run in the first inning to put Pittsburgh out in front, which is something that Paul Skeens did not experience on the mound a lot in his 2-year career, but he hit 2 home runs in that game, and the Pirates actually scored 7 runs, which for a team for the last 2 years that has been statistically the worst offense in baseball, getting less than 4 runs of support for any of their pitchers over the course of the season, worst in baseball. 7 runs on opening day. It deserved a win. The Pirates deserved to start 1-0. But there were a lot that went on in this game that I wanted to touch on because it was all focused on Skeens. But before we move on from that, I do want to mention, because Skeens is just so ridiculous and I think he'll be fine. I don't think this is a sign to worry. I think things just went rough. But Skeens' career ERA was 1.96 heading into the opening day start, and thanks to the short outing of his career, it has now rose all the way to an incredibly bloated 2.10. That's right, even with the worst start in his career ERA is 2.10. His season ERA is about 64, so that needs to come down. But Paul Skeens is going to be fine. He's still incredible. He's still my pick for NL Cy Young favorite, but you do have to consider guys like Christopher Sanchez, Jacob Mizrowski, and Chris Sale still looks great. We'll get to that in a minute. But Paul Skeens is still my front runner, even with a rough start. I do want to mention, I feel like hanging all 5 of those runs on Paul Skeens is a bit rough, because as it was obvious, several of those runs were a direct result of O'Neal Cruz having no earthly idea how to play center field. On the first ball that went over his head and scored a couple, he takes a step in center field the second the ball is hit. And if you know anything about playing center field, even if the ball is hit shallow, your first step should be back, just in case. Even if the ball is going to land in front of you, your first step should be back. His first step was forward. That ruins any and all momentum. He had no chance at that ball. That's on O'Neal Cruz. Then the next batter, a ball drops in front of him, and for the second straight batter, he complains that he can't see. He should have had that second ball probably, and you had time to put sunglasses on. But you fought the sun in spring training and you said, I don't like sunglasses. But you know what? The sun doesn't care. And if you can't see the ball, you can't catch it. If you can't catch it, that's on you. So O'Neal Cruz does not need to be in center field. He is an incredibly gifted physical athlete, but he needs to not be at a premium position. In fact, he was at shortstop. That didn't work out. I think he needs to be DH. There is something of a solution. It's pretty indelicate, but what I would do is Marcell Ozuna is your current DH, and he's not a great outfielder, but at this point, I'd have more faith in him in the outfield than O'Neal Cruz. And so I would put Ozuna in left field, put Brian Reynolds back in center where he used to play, and make O'Neal Cruz the DH, at least until he can get some significant more outfield practice and reps. Because I don't think Paul Skeens should have been saddled with all 5 of those runs, because some of those were direct result of O'Neal Cruz having no idea how to play the position. Another thing that I want to call out, we mentioned there were a lot of rookies that hit home runs in their debut, and one guy that I missed was the Chicago White Sox rookie Murakami. In his MLB debut, also hit a home run. An exciting moment for him. Another thing I wanted to call out, we did talk about Alec Boehm's issue with his parents. Again, I'm going to do a longer video on that on the main Empire Sports Talk channel, but I did want to call out that he also homered in that opening day game. And I also mentioned that Christopher Sanchez was absolutely filthy. 6 innings, 3 hits, 10 Ks. These starting pitchers were racking up the strikeouts. In the opening day game between the Astros and the Angels, I focused more on the struggles of the Astros, of the fact that their 4 biggest name hitters started 1 for 13. And I neglected to call out 2 important things. First of all, I made a comment about Hunter Brown not making it out of the 5th inning. And while that is true, I think that undercut the fact that he actually did pitch very well. He gave up just 4 hits, but nothing was hit very hard. He did have 9 Ks. The reason that he left the game early was not because he was pitching poorly. It was because he had given up a few walks. I think it was maybe 4 walks, something like that. And he had 102 pitches through 4 2/3. And since it's opening day and he's your ace, he was a Cy Young finalist a year ago, you don't want to burn him out. So he did throw 102 pitches, 59 of them were strikes. It's not the best ratio you want. You want a little bit of a higher strike ratio, but that also told the story. He made it to a lot of deep counts, threw a lot of pitches, left the game early, but he did pitch very well. Also, one thing that got glossed over, and it's probably the most important thing, is the fact that Mike Trout looked like vintage Mike Trout. And that continued even into tonight's game. In the opening day game, he hit a home run, had 3 walks, and he stole a base. And he homered again tonight. So that's 2 home runs in 2 games for Mike Trout. And I think I speak for all baseball fans when I say I genuinely hope Mike Trout stays healthy enough to play 150-plus games this season, because we miss seeing productivity like that from Mike Trout. Talked about J.J. Weatherholt hitting a home run on his MLB debut for the St. Louis Cardinals, but I don't want to gloss over the fact that the Cardinals team came back from a 7-1 deficit in the 6th inning to win against the Tampa Bay Rays 9-7. And watching those highlights and watching that tape, I see energy in that clubhouse that hasn't been there in a few years. And while I do believe the Cubs are the favorite in that division, and I think the Brewers are really good, I don't think we can count out St. Louis. I think the NL Central is going to be a wild division to watch in 2026. You have the Cubs and Brewers, who are going to play well as we expect. You have the Reds, who are right there on the edge. Can they take the next step in the playoffs? You have the Pirates, who are maybe a year away from actually playing for a shot at the playoffs. And you have these Cardinals, who showed a lot of fight and a lot of grit and a lot that I like yesterday in their opener against the Rays. So this could legit be a 5-team race for much of the season, and I look forward to watching it. But watch out for these St. Louis Cardinals. They're scrappy, and I like it. They might need a little more pitching as the season wears on, and they don't really have a frontline guy anymore. Sonny Gray is gone. Miles Michaelis is gone. They have some younger prospect guys, but nobody that can handle the load. I think something you might want to revisit, and this is just me talking. I don't think there's any rumors about this or anything, but you might want to revisit going and trying to get a guy like Sandy Alcantara. Like, this is a guy who has been in trade talks at deadlines for years now because the Marlins aren't going anywhere. He pitched well tonight. We'll get to that in a minute. And Sandy Alcantara was actually drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals, so it would be really interesting to see him kind of come back home and give them the frontline guy that they would need if they get to the deadline and they're actually in this thing and they have a shot at a wild card. Getting way ahead of myself, they've played 1 game. The schedule to start the season has been really weird. We had 1 game on Wednesday. We had, I think, 11 games on Thursday, and we had 8 games on Friday. Several of those teams playing their first game. So I'm not a huge fan of the way the first 3 days have opened up. It's basically like we had 3 opening days, which was very, very weird. But the Cardinals have played 1 game. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I think they're going to be a team to watch. I think the NL Central could be a 5-team race for a good chunk of the season. So I'm really excited to see how that shakes out. But I do think if that were to happen and the Cardinals were in it in June and July, they might want to think about going to get somebody like their old friend Sandy Alcantara. I think that would be a good fit. Now, to Friday's action. First, we want to talk about the earliest game. It was a 4:30 game. It was the second game between the Yankees and the Giants, who led off on Wednesday on Netflix. They had a day off Thursday. They were back at it on Friday. And the story here was how bad the Giants look. They got shut out again. They have started the season now on an 18-inning scoreless streak. And they've gotten 4 hits. They got 1 hit on Friday. And it came against Cam Schlittler, who was great through 5 1/3. Just that 1 hit. The bullpen didn't allow another hit after that. The Yankees won 3-0. Aaron Judge started 0 for 2 in this game to bring his hitless streak to 7 after the 0 for 5 4-strikeout game in the opener. Started 0 for 2. Then in his 8th at bat of the season, in classic Aaron Judge fashion, he hit a home run for his first hit of the season. Then 2 batters later, Giancarlo Stanton followed that up with a home run. That was all the scoring in the game. Yankees won 3-0. And for all you Braves fans out there, you had to wait more than a week last season to see your team get their first win. Tonight, they did it right away, and they did it resoundingly. The team got 3 home runs from Ozzie Albies, Drake Baldwin, and Michael Harris II. And despite their impending pitching problems, because they lost 4 starting pitchers in spring training / in the offseason, they do have Chris Sale. That much they know. Everything after that is a kind of a question mark at this point in the season. They've got 3 guys coming back no sooner than June, so it's gonna be a weird spring. But Chris Sale looked really, really good. 6 innings, 3 hits, 6 Ks. I would say vintage Sale, but I don't think you have to look too far to see him the way he's pitched. He's pitched well since he's been with the Braves. He's a couple years removed from winning the Cy Young with the Atlanta Braves. So Sale looked good. The Braves clocked 3 homers. It seemed like they were hitting everything hard. They even made some nice defensive plays. And I think if they can figure out pitching, I think this Braves team, led by this offense, could return to 100-win form. I think we could see them return to 2022-2023 form, where they had really good regular seasons and faltered in the playoffs. I'm not saying they're going to falter in the playoffs after 1 game, but this offense looks really strong after 1 game against Cole Reagans, who was really off in this game from the very beginning. He only pitched, he only made it through 4 innings, and there was a really odd moment where he slipped off the mound, and he was able to stay on his feet. But then I think the next batter, was it Austin Riley? I can't remember. He kind of, for a minute, struggled to find the strike zone after that. So I think we got to keep an eye on Cole Reagans. He looked uncomfortable for a minute after he slipped off the mound. So it wasn't a great outing for him. He is coming off an injury, so maybe, and it's opening day. Like I said, you can't put too much stock on opening day. But the Braves came out strong, started 1-0, as opposed to last year's 0-7. It's a nice change, good for longtime assistant Walt Weiss for getting his first win as Braves manager. In the game between the Athletics and the Toronto Blue Jays, the story of this game was the fact that Toronto mounted a 2-out rally in the 9th inning to walk this thing off. It started when Kazumo Okamoto singled with 2 outs, followed by an Ernie Clement double, which only turned into a double because it was a weak chopper over the third baseman's head that rolled for a while, which put Clement on second, Okamoto on third, and then Andres Gimenez came up and singled between first and second, past the diving infielder to give Toronto the walk-off win. It was a very good game, but the story of this one was the 2-out rally, because all this happened after the A's pitching got to 2 outs pretty quick, and then Toronto decided we're going to end it right here. So exciting 2-out rally from Toronto to walk it off. Rookie Chase DeLauder did it again for Cleveland in his second career regular season game, because again, remember that he debuted for the Guardians in the postseason a year ago, but that apparently doesn't really count as an official debut. So opening day on Thursday was his official debut. He homered twice. He did it again. He homered in Friday's game to give him 3 in 2 career regular season games. Looking very, very comfortable at the major league level. Not quite as comfortable as another rookie that we will get to in a minute. But again, Chase DeLauder may have homered in that game, and his homers on Thursday may have been a big reason why Cleveland won the opener. But it was Cole Young and Luke Raley homers that led Seattle to their first win of the season, evening the series at 1. And Luke Raley has homered in back-to-back days himself. So we've got a really good series on our hands between Seattle and Cleveland to start the season. I talked earlier about the Angels and Astros from Thursday. What did they do on Friday? Josh Lowe and Zach Neto homered, but Mike Trout also homered again, so that's 2 homers in 2 days from Mike Trout. I will say it again. I think I can speak for all of us when I say I sincerely hope that he stays healthy, that he plays 140, 150 plus games, and we see a Mike Trout that we haven't seen in a while. And hopefully, maybe the Angels can surprise us. It's going to be tough in the AL West, but with the Astros kind of falling back down to earth, they are now 0-2, even though Yordan Alvarez homered in this one. They are now 0-2, so it seems like their reign of that division is over. So I feel like it could be pretty open for a Texas or the Athletics or the Angels to do something. And I know I'm forgetting somebody there. You don't have to tell me. It's 1:30 in the morning. Give me a break. Framber Valdez made his Detroit Tigers debut, and he was really solid. 6 innings, just 1 run allowed. But again, that was not the story in this game. Remember how I said Chase DeLauder hasn't looked as comfortable as another rookie? Kevin McGonigal did it again. Kevin McGonigal is insane. He's becoming appointment television. I may have to watch the Tigers every day this season just to watch him. Somewhere, Ben Verlander is smiling. Kevin McGonigal went 1 for 3 with a walk in his second career game, seeing his average drop to 625. I just feel like saying that because we're not going to be able to say that for long. That average is going to come down. But for a rookie with 2 career games to have a 675 average, 675, 625 average, whatever it is, and 4 RBIs in 2 games is crazy. But it's not that he had another hit. That's not the thing. Also, he would have had a home run in this game, but Jackson Merrill made a catch of the year candidate. But honestly, 3rd day of the season officially, I don't see how anyone is beating this catch. I will try to put a clip of it right here for you to see. But it literally looked like he was levitating. He robbed a home run from Kevin McGonigal that would have made him 2 for 3. But the story was in the top of the 8th inning, with the bases loaded and 2 outs. Kevin McGonigal was patient at the plate, outlasting the reliever to a 10-pitch at-bat, which he brought to a full count, even fouling off 2 pitches up by his hands to give Detroit the lead. This at-bat showed his incredible plate discipline and patience and his poise. Kevin McGonigal is the real deal. I said yesterday that many scouts believe that he's going to win multiple batting titles, and this one at-bat shows us why. 4 hits in his debut. He was the best player on the field on Thursday, a field that included Tarek Skubal. You hear that? 21 years old, skipped AAA entirely, and he was the best player on a field that included Tarek Skubal on Thursday. And then on Friday, he came up clutch again. For the 2nd straight day, with the bases loaded, to drive in 2 runs. Kevin McGonigal is the real deal. I am already wanting to watch the Tigers again to see him play. He is appointment television. Get used to the name Kevin McGonigal. And on top of that, they brought in a lefty from the bullpen to face McGonigal, which would make you think, okay, he's a rookie, it's a second game, maybe they pinch hit for him because it's lefty on lefty. And McGonigal hung in there 10 pitches and then got a sinker middle away and drove it into the gap. This kid's not intimidated. Get used to the name Kevin McGonigal. Tigers win that game 5-2. In the final game of the night, the Dodgers beat the Diamondbacks 5-4 to improve to 2-0. For the Diamondbacks, Ketel Marte hit a home run, and Alek Thomas had a really nice game, 2 doubles, 3 RBIs. But it was the third inning for the Dodgers that made the difference in this one. Mookie Betts had a 3-run homer, and Alex Freeland added one of his own. And then Kyle Tucker in the 8th inning had an RBI single. That was the difference in the game. The D-backs out-hit the Dodgers 8-4. The Dodgers only had 4 hits, but 2 of them were home runs. And that was enough to outlast Arizona in this one. That is all the scores and news from Friday. I'm Roman Gennaro. This has been Empire on Deck, a show within a show on the Empire Sports Talk YouTube channel. And until Saturday's action, I'll see you around.